All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another massive Wednesday. I have Trevor here. Trevor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm Trevor. We're seeing something else pop up on the screen there.
There you go. Sorry.
Thanks to everybody for joining us. We're going to do a quick introduction of the Massive Capital team. Hopefully Zachary shows up. I sent him a note saying, "Where are you?" Might have been a little miscommunication. He was traveling, and we're going to have a great presentation for you tonight. And the whole thing is about how to invest with your retirement funds. So welcome everybody. Feel free to put your contact information in the chat, and you can also reach out to any of us that are from Massive if you want to learn more about investing.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor.
That's very good, Trevor, because a lot of times you go to a webinar and it's just very closed. You're being very open. Thank you.
Yep, we're good. And we are going to try to keep everybody muted till we go to Q&A.
Awesome. So we're gonna start just presenting ourselves, who Massive Capital is. If you're new in these webinars, just drop new in the chat so we can reach out to you. We're gonna talk a little bit about the partnering opportunities with Massive Capital, and of course, we're gonna pivot into investing your retirement account. We're gonna share our own experience, and also we're gonna have Zach from Quest just answer any questions that you guys have. So let's go.
So this is the Massive Capital team. So on the left, you have Sanjay, and he's going to be talking about what investments he's made with his self-directed, Sharar and Mike Bailey. And then if you look over on the right, you'll see myself, investor engagement, Jen Brown with asset management. Obviously, Jen is here, Maria, Razman, Bhaskar, Candice, and Jonathan is our legal counsel. So that's all of your Massive team. We're all here to provide information about real estate investing. Who wants, Mike, do you want to talk about the different skill sets, or Shrar?
Sounds like a plan. I mean, Mike, you want to go or should I go?
No, you go ahead, and you can also mention about who was left off of the.
Yes. Could you go back to one more slide
Did
before,
I miss
please?
somebody?
Yeah, no, I missed it. Not you, Trevor. You're fine. So where's Angela? Is she here? Okay. So we missed one of our teammates. We have one more person joined us, and I dropped the ball on that one. She's gonna be here next slide, or in about next 30 minutes or so. She's another team member of ours. Angela, she's not here, or I don't see her. But she helps us quite a bit on everything on the backside of it, make sure the process and operations and SOPs are in place. So she's not here. But Trevor, I dropped the ball, not you. So thank you. Next one. Hey. I mean, I got the text, Mike. I was like, darn it. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. So what we do, we buy across all the asset classes, or across all the verticals, I would say, and the horizontals here. We do buy land for new development, and we also buy Class C value add. And currently we're looking for Class A coming out the constructions as well. It's more of a finance first, then the asset. So depending on the market cycle, depending on where we at with that debt market, we decide what project to kind of take on. Typically, we run a schedule for 3 years. We'll have so we have a new project that we are doing. We're going to talk about it a little bit. That's a land development, and it's purely buying the land and do the entitlement on top of that. And this is something we don't have the skill set, so we partner with the other developers who brings the skill set and bolts on to us, and we become a complete team. Also on the Class C value add, we also own and operate, and we partner with as well. Outside the Texas, we do mostly JV. And inside the Texas, we do JV, and also we lead the way for Class C value adds. And we also bullish on the Class A coming out the construction, the lease out process as well. And so that's what we do. All right, next slide. Cool. So what we did last year, this is an overview of all the assets that we closed last year, and also what we have properties under contract for this year. And again, for us, it's a market cycle first, finance second, then the asset. So depending on how we buy and where we buy, it has a strategy behind it. Last year, we bought quite a bit of assets on a recourse loan. And now this year, given the market cycle, we're looking at everything non-recourse. Thus, we are bullish on buying assets on a pro forma basis. So what we are going to do this year, we're going to try to expand where we have assets. And then we also have Phoenix and in the Tampa market in our radar. So we're building a team and a relationship there. And we also have three assets under contract. Again, those are not for, we're not raising any funds. This is for education only. We're just talking about us and what we're doing. So.
All right.
Next one. Okay. So partnering opportunity. Mike, you want to take it from here for a little bit, or should I continue?
Go ahead. I was trying to help some people real quick get in line, get in the room. So
let's do it. So one of the so our value proposition, or the way Massive we take a look at it, that we want to be an accelerator platform. Whenever we partner with a local operator, our goal is to help them grow the operations, and by design take on the debt and the equity partnership with them. When we partner with the equity raiser, our goal is to give them efficiency by taking out the deal sourcing and underwriting from them, so we can get better at what we do. Last year, I believe we finished, Mike, if I'm wrong, about 21 people became GP for the first time with us. And even though we have been in the business for 10 months, so again, our goal is to add efficiency for the local operators and also the equity partners. We can bring in deal, we can bring in at-risk money, we can help you do the contract to close process, we can guarantee the debt, we can bring in the debt as well, and depending on how much equity you bring into the project and the location of the asset and the asset size, will help with the asset management as well. Don't worry about the right side. On the right side, it's a tracker that we have. This is a mess. Typically, in a given time, or at a given time, we try to keep about, I would say, 10 to 15 underwritings or assets that we actively underwrite, about 2 to 3 LOIs, and about 2 properties under contract. So for now, we have two properties under contract, and 1 is coming up, 1 LOI pending. And then we have about 9 underwriting, and we just have 3 deals that kind of came about. And again, we have a fund ready to go, and we plan to raise about 10 million with the fund. And when a next deal comes about that matches the fund strategy, we'll talk about it. And you'll see that next whole month, we'll talk about the risks associated with the project on the market and how fund can help de-risking some of those individual project risks that we see from the LP perspective. And for next 2-3 cycles that we're going to talk about that, what's the philosophy about a fund, what's the risk associated with with the project, with the location, and then if I'm an LP and I'm taking the discrete amount of risk by deploying capital of a particular project, is it okay, or is it better to go through a fund so I can diversify and mix and match the risks that we have? Investment opportunities, we have a couple of them coming up. And then we have partnership programs. We already launched the partnership program. So again, we KP that, we bring in equity depending on where we at, and also source deals as we go. And we also partner with a couple of other service providers. I would say we have a deal door machine, and we also partner with Hero Capital Raisers and the Legend Equity Group. So we are heavy on JV. We're heavy on the partnerships. We believe when market is choppy, when things are crazy, the way you win or get ahead or survive will be by partnering with others. And the others will be someone who brings in a skill set that we don't have, right? So when we bolt on, it becomes a stronger team and kind of weather the upside and downside of it. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Trevor. Oh, so. Trevor, this is your project, buddy. Why don't you just talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so we're very excited. This is first one of our first development deals. So this is in Georgetown, just north of Austin, actually 30 minutes from my house. This one is going to offer about a 20% IRR It's a short term because it's a land acquisition. So land acquisition basically is you're buying the land and you're getting it permit ready for development. So it's pre-development, a 1.45 return in 2 years, 7% preferred. We do have a 70-30 split. We are actually oversubscribed. So when we have an offer, don't wait. You got to get on there. Make sure you get in line. And we will have phase 2 at some point, hopefully, and we'll definitely be offering that one as well.
Awesome.
And on that note, I think we are fully subscribed, or do we have a couple of spots left? I'm not.
Yeah,
We're
no,
actually
fully subscribed,
oversubscribed.
and today I added somebody who is in waiting list for 200. So, to 100. Sorry. So, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Then we have 2 other opportunities that are a 506B. That means if for non-accredited investors. So we're not able to share any details, but if you want to learn about these opportunities that we have, it's one in Dallas, one in Georgia. Make sure you reach out to us. Make sure we get to know you, and we can share the details about these properties. We're gonna be hosting webinars, sharing all the details, but definitely this is gonna be just with invitation, just for CC regulations. So just want to let you know that we have deals out there happening, so okay.
I want to clarify, it's really important that you connect with somebody on the massive team so that you get first opportunity to look at these deals. Because it's a 506B, we have to have a pre-existing substance relationship. I know a lot of people on this call already have that with us, but it's very important that you get to know us. Because again, we're not only providing information, we're also providing investment opportunities. So make sure you connect with someone on the massive team if you have not yet, because you don't want to miss out. Our deals are filling up fast. We're doing really good deals.
Thank you, Trevor. And if you guys, Mike or Shara, can share the link to the portal. I just share my business card. You will see all the links right there, including the one for the portal, or just to book a call with me. But if somebody can share the link, that's another way. All right, so we're gonna get into the IRA investments. So the first thing, definitely we want to hear our partners. All of them have done it before. They had invested their retirement accounts. So I'm gonna pass it on to Mike Bailey. Mike, if you want to share with us a little bit about your experience investing your retirement accounts, returns, and all the good information for the audience, please.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about not just the self-directed IRA, but also just, I guess, retirement accounts in general that I've been able to use and how those worked for me real quick. So I actually have invested from both a self-directed IRA, which happens to be with Quest, and I've also invested from a solo 401k. And those are, they both give you different types of opportunities, flexibility in order to do that. But one provides you a little more protection and service versus the other. So the ones that I did 4 opportunities with my self-directed IRA through Quest, and those I did were my original ones I did, which really helped me get kind of grounded, the right questions to ask, get the right documentation together, and they drove the process as custodians. So for me, that was really beneficial in the early stages of my first few investments that I did. And for me, I had actually departed from one company quite a few years ago, and I had basically had a rollover IRA, and I moved that rollover IRA to Quest, and then was able to start investing it into real estate. One of the deals I actually did was I invested in, one of the first ones was a loan and into a property. So I loaned money that basically into that, and they paid back as a return on that loan. So it's sort of an investment / loan. And that was for just a single family house. And then I did also some investments where I invested into a couple different, one was a portfolio of single family homes. And I've returned, that investment has returned for me, gone full cycle, I guess you would say, for me. And then I did some other types of investments. The solo 401k I set up from when I left my last company, ConocoPhillips, and I rolled my 401k over into a solo 401k. And that led me just kind of, you have a little bit more flexibility and you can invest yourself. You know, you can wire the funds directly from your solo 401k into the property. And you just have to be a little more, take care of the paperwork yourself more, be sure that the investment checks out, make sure you're getting documents done correctly. So those are the couple ways I've done it. I've done overall 8 different investments that way. And the cool thing also, the solo 401k lets you borrow against your investment. So you could borrow 50,000 against that, or against your IRA or your 401k if you wanted to do something else with it that didn't have to be protected, and then you just have to pay yourself back. So thank you, Jasmine, and for letting me share a little bit of that.
No, thank you. And just like a quick question, Mike, can you share, why did you decide to invest your retirement accounts into a real estate asset? You said you started with single family and then multifamily, but what made you take that decision?
So I actually, I had a number of investments still in stock at the time. That I just wanted to have alternative investment opportunities, and instead of keeping everything in stock, I had joined with some other programs, and I started learning about the opportunity to invest in real estate, not as me going and buying it. So I'd been buying real estate, but I had an opportunity to invest my my retirement account into that. And when I started looking at the returns and basically it's sort of a passive growth where it's going to multiply. I'm not really worried about the obviously with the IRA and the solo 401k, the depreciation I get doesn't really help me. So I was looking more for, like, I started to see the opportunity of the double, and just what it looked like for improving my return over a longer period of time, and not having to monitor and watch it on a daily, monthly basis.
Awesome. No, that's great. And the second question will be, what are some so if you can compare, how just the different on a high level, the difference of just keeping your retirement accounts and the returns that you had just probably by now, if you just had kept it there, or now that you invested, you say you started in 2021, what is the difference of the returns that you see now?
So actually it's because it is just 2021. I've only, had one that went, that I've gotten a full return back, or 2 that I gotten full returns back on, and they came out as expected for what I was kind of as the average of those. But I really haven't had, many that have gone full cycle, but I do have one that now, which was it's invested into offices. So the interesting thing is that with you have to kind of measure yourself how well the property, the things are doing as you go. So you receive the monthly distributions, but you also, like, how the property is actually returning. You really actually have to do a little bit of monitoring yourself. So but one of them is actually retired almost, it's like 2 years in, and it's already doubled the value of my investment. So it's which was a medical office in Dallas, which has done really well.
Awesome, great, Mike. The last question will be like, do you have any piece of advice for all the people who have never invested their retirement accounts? They don't even know where to start, or what to look into. Any piece of advice that you would like to share with the audience?
I mean, it's the biggest piece of advice I have, and it's not just for this, it's for everything, is like, go, like, you hear about it today, reach out to somebody here that you hear talking about it, whether that's, me or Trevor Schreier. Jasmine knows a lot about this now. The key is like taking some action, man. Everything for me is about taking action now. I spend a lot of time on the sidelines and just let my, kind of let my investments sit there, and now I'm taking more interest into my investments. So take an action, go, reach out to somebody, talk more about this, connect with some of the companies that do this and try to understand it more. And I get a lot of stuff from YouTube about, comparing like the Sidras versus the solo 401k. So I spend a lot more time investing in my education and then taking action against that.
That's great. That's definitely very important. We need to take action, and we need to take massive action. There is to say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago and today. So thank you so much, Mike. So now we're gonna welcome to the stage the one and only Gerard. If you want to share your experience about investing your retirement account as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine. That, by the way, my number it's 10 now. 5 closed and 5 open. Total from Roth IRA is 10, and I have 2 more coming up. So I'll be in the 12 in about a month or so. So I started again. So my story is similar to Mike. I started my Roth IRA a couple of years ago, and that's because when the backdoor Roth IRA was, I had a W-2, so my 401k is that's with Fidelity, and so I did my backdoor backdoor into the Roth IRA. Before I get into a full disclaimer, we are not accountant, we are not attorneys, we're not giving you any legal advice. It's just a conversation from our experience. Do your own due diligence, reach out to whoever you want to reach out to, or accountant or legal, to make sure that you get their opinion as well before you do anything, right? Just want to share that with you guys. On that note, I started.
Reminder of the disclaimer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No problem. Hey, just to make sure that we need to be kosher, right? That's all. So it's my accountant. I was asking him what is the way we can invest, and when I started, so I'll give you the context, right? When I started, I didn't know exactly how I will realize the benefit from the Roth IRA. But my accountant, all of my friends, all I heard is that I at least have a Roth IRA. So I started on the backdoor Roth IRA, and then given when I started with the backdoor, it was very less money I could brought into the Roth IRA. So I went for high frequency transaction. I said how quick I can cycle out, in and out, and that was my approach to it. And now as we have I've kind of grown the portfolio a little bit, I'm looking for longer cycle, and also which is the cash flow, and also the faster cycle. So I'm blending it in. But coming into the Roth IRA, I didn't have quite clarity of how the Roth IRA is going to play out, how we can get money into it, how we can spend money within the Roth IRA bucket, and what happens when you get the earning, how do you pay taxes, that kind of stuff. So back to Mike's point, unless you taste the food, you don't know how does it taste like. We can look at the food all day long and say it looks good or bad, right? So that's how I started. That's how I've grown, and I've gone through 5 full cycles, and I have 5 open investments, and there are 2 more investments that I'll be, it's pending. Based on that, since I left Shell January 1st, I have my 401k with Fidelity, and then I'm working with the accountant and another legal service to move it into a solo 401k, because the Roth and a solo, they have slight differences. So without having both the accounts gives me flexibility of how I do my investments over time. So they overlap, but they have some deltas. I don't know exactly how the deltas can play out, but I thought having 2 options on hand will be beneficial. So I'm taking my 401k from Fidelity and moving into a solo 401k with something called Quadro, where I can take the money out my solo 401k. So in a sense, there are two buckets of money: tax shelters bucket and on-market money, which is I have that in my bank account. I can spend whenever I want to, but money came into my bank account after I paid tax. Versus a 401k money within the umbrella, tax is sheltered. It doesn't. I don't pay the tax till I break it out. So I thought I wanted to have more flexibility with the investment tools. So we have the Roth IRA. Now we're starting with the solo 401k, and within the solo 401k, I want to have an optionality. If I were to take the money out and decide to pay tax and offset that with depreciation, I could. And that's why I started my solo 401k this year. So adding more tool into the toolkit as investors, we all should have that flexibility. Not everything is right, not everything is wrong, but if you have the flexibility, it's better. And also one of my strategy was, given finance background, I would say is money needs to be working at all time. So I don't go for the home run. I go for ones and twos. That saved me quite a bit. What I meant to say, do I go for 30% return and money sits in the bank account for 6 months? So aggregate in the 12 months, I get half of that. Or do I go 12% return that is working every single day for 2, 3, 4 years, right? So my approach to investing is that go for the ones and twos, solid ones and twos, but money is working all the time. I don't have to think about how do I get the money, how do I put the money back. So that's how I invest from Roth and solo 401k. And my custodian has been Quest for Roth IRA. They have been fantastic, and their support system is great. I looked at 2 accounts, Quest, and there was another one from Dallas. But I thought Quest is so active and they gave you a little bit more extra support when you needed. And I've been surprised how good they are. Solo 401k, I did not do Quest because Quest doesn't support that solo 401k. So I did it via somebody else. That's because solo 401k, I manage the book. So accounting is on me versus Quest on the Roth, they do the accounting for you. Slightly different, a little more flexibility, different way to set it up. And I'm yet to exercise my solo, but I'm excited for the solo. It's going to be fun.
Awesome.
That's all from my end. Jasmine, back to you.
Well, yeah, I have a question because I see that you invest your IRA in land, and one of the reasons that why we fill out so quick on this deal that Trevor just talked about, the land development, is just investors love the fact that they can put the IRA in there. There is no cost segregation. So on IRA, you're not able to take the benefits of cost segregation, depreciation, and it's also a quick turnaround. But is there a reason, is that the reason, or do you have any other reason why did you decide to invest your IRA in land?
Because of 2 reasons. Number one, I didn't have enough in my bucket to invest in a lot of things. So I went for how quickly I can cycle through. And land came about that perspective. Land is one of the asset class. You can cycle around the land the fastest. Multifamily takes about 5 years. Land takes about 2 to 3 years. And that's the fastest I can get there. So that was one of the reasons. And the secondary benefit is I don't get the depreciation anyways. So if I don't get the depreciation, hey, if it comes about a land, I go for the speed than the cash flow. But now I'm doing both, right? From the 2 that's coming up, one of them will be syndication. So it's because I have investment that I'm breaking into 50, 75 grand at a piece at a time, and I'm deploying in those at a time. So, but I started because of the speed, and I started because I had other investment outside the tax umbrella. So I got the depreciation from there. And now I'm saying I can do both because there's not enough land deal out there for me to invest. So I'll invest the second best thing, which is the syndication. That's the reason.
Good, thank you. Well, Sharar and myself, we love land and we like to invest in land. I don't have an IRA, so definitely that's why I wanted to share. I just wanted you to share your experience on that. Any piece of advice that you would like to share with the audience about investing retirement accounts?
I'll give you 1 story, 2 stories. One, so I invest with my family as well. So all of my in-laws and my sister, they all invest with me. And I finally had my brother-in-law open a Roth IRA or convert to IRA, and he appreciates the benefit of it that if you don't have to, if we can defer the tax, if you can borrow some amount of money, 30% of your earning, 37% of your earning at a 0% from the government, as long as you want it for next 10 years, why not? And that's a cool concept. So small, $1, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the case might be, have it. It's an option. It helps. And number two, it's a little bit of kind of clunky to get started with the IRA. It's a whole bunch of paperwork. So first 1, 2 go around will be kind of sort of painful because you are learning through the process. Once you go through it, it's easier. And oftentimes when I work with my families, everybody had some X amount of $1,000 sitting out there. It's just sitting out there. Everybody thinks I will do something, but nobody ever gets there to do it. So second thing will be do it. Please spend the money, go shopping, do whatever you gotta do, but don't let it sit down and losing the value of the money, right? And the third thing, my kids, oh man, you guys will call me crazy. They have IRAs too. So what I found out is that, so my kids work for me, so I have a part-time job with me, right? So they get paid. And with the money, I cannot spend, they cannot spend, right? So money sits in the bank account. And all we can do, open up a brokerage company so they can buy stock. And then also with the flip side of a Roth IRA, given they have an earning, they can start an IRA and it can be a custodian. I can be a custodian of the IRA. Since they're underage, they cannot sign a contract. I can sign contract for them because I'm the custodian of the account. Here comes the IRA. So something to explore. That was like whoa, that was like my Christmas gift last year. I was like, kiddos, you guys are having it. So my kids have 2. One is 12, one is 9. Just to let you guys know.
That's awesome. I hear that I think it was last year that somebody was saying like you need to set an IRA for your kids. And okay, I'm glad you brought it up. I know so many people here have kids, so definitely that's something that we can explore more. And just like Shara said, we are no legal advisors. Reach out to your CPA, your accountant. If you have questions, we can share it on our personal experiences with that. Thank you, Shara. Thank you. That was very helpful. And last one, I'm just gonna bring Trevor. Welcome to the stage, Trevor. We're so excited to hear 7 investments that you have with your IRA. So
and I started actually in 2019, not 20XX. I probably forgot to answer a question.
Hey, so I knew it, Trevor. I just didn't know how early you went.
And I'm going to tell you the most interesting thing was, okay, so I learned about syndication in 2019, and I also learned about self-directed IRAs. And I had a very strange situation that I actually worked for a company that did not have a retirement plan at the time. So I actually lucked into being able to have some retirement plan. And I'm not an accountant either. I just had a smart one. But what had happened was I worked for somebody that sold a business, and they actually wrote me a personal check for a bonus, and it was substantial. And my accountant said, oh, you can take some of that and invest it into retirement funds and let it grow that way. So again, I did it, but I also noticed it was very fee heavy, right? Like, so at the end of it all, there was so many fees and so many things happening. It was kind of growing slowly. So it had grown over the period of time I had it a bit. And then actually my very first passive investment was with Sanjay, who's with Massive Capital, and it was with my self-directed IRA. So it's kind of funny how life goes full circle. And again, what happened was it was sitting there somewhere that I didn't understand what was happening to it, right? It was basically just riding with whatever they did. They would meet with you and say, do you want aggressive, not aggressive, whatever it is. And I thought, well, let me try to take some control of my destiny. So I pulled it out, put it into a self-directed IRA, also with Quest, and made my first passive real estate investment. And very similar, I'm in several things. So we have syndication, we have land deal. I'm also in a medical office. I was in a single family home fund with it. So I've diversified a little bit because I diversify with all my investments. I also diversified with my retirement funds. And again, I with my retirement funds, I'm normally not looking for that home run. So to give you an example, one of them is in a deal, and it's actually with Paul, another part of our group, who's one of the sponsors, on a medical center. And it was what I'm going to call a safe investment. It paid a 10% pref. That was it, with no upside. But again, a very comfortable place for me to put my retirement money, not risking it, not needing to get the cost segregation or some of the other things with it. And so it provides all of those different things. So I've been in real estate deals, and I'll be honest, I wish at some point someone had told me that you couldn't get the cost segregation difference with your investment funds. So I actually had cash and retirement funds, and I put it into a deal, and then I was told I didn't get the cost segregation. So important for everybody here. We're teaching you what we did wrong, so you don't go do what's wrong again. That's so important. Nobody told me that. And so I had cash and I had that, and I made this investment, and then I said, oh, am I going to get this big loss? Well, actually, you're not. And I was like, well, I wish somebody had told me this. So I'm trying to tell people what I learned the hard way is there are certain things where, and again, it doesn't matter if that's what you want to invest in and you decide not to. And it's really just a double taxation savings issue. And again, we're not accountants, but you can find out about that. But it's been very easy for me to be able to do it. And then I did end up doing another, what I'm going to call creative thing. So I like to be creative. So outside of the box. So when COVID happened, they let you withdraw emergency funds out of your self-directed IRA or out of my work 401k. So I actually took $100,000 loan on my 401k, put it into a land investment that paid 16%. Again, it was just a direct interest, like a hard money loan, but it was never making 16%, especially with the crash of COVID and everything that was going on with the stock market and things. And then I paid it back with some other investments that came in so that I didn't have to pay the withdrawal penalty. So the nice thing about this is you've got to look at all of the ways that you can maximize your returns on cash wherever it is within your system. So if you have a job today and you haven't lost, your chances are you can't roll your money over. Current employers, the reason they want to keep you in that plan is everybody makes money off of you. I mean, I'm going to be bluntly honest. The reason it's there and the reason you can't take it out is people are making money on it. And they don't want you to take it out. They want to collect their fees. They want you to be tied to Wall Street, tied to systems, tied to providers. It's just the way, unfortunately, our world is set up. And then I was fortunate when I did end up losing my job, I pulled everything out and moved it all over. And sometimes it takes a little while to move your money over because they don't want to give it up. So, you know, they make you jump through a lot of hoops, and then they had to mail a check to my house, and then I had to go get the check, and I had to drive over to Quest and endorse it and stick it in the Quest account. And again, why do they make it complicated? Because they're making a lot of fees, and that's what they like to do. So that's the one reason why I like it. It puts the power back to you, to how you're going to use it, how you're going to create your financial independence. And again, mine's quite small because our company in the last 3 years finally decided to have a retirement plan. But I was 51 before anybody even had a retirement plan for me to contribute to, other than that one time I could do it on a one-off occasion. So it's for other people, it's substantial.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think like that's something that the three of you guys share. Like we need to take responsibility, and just because there is somebody managing 401ks, IRAs, that doesn't mean they are looking out for themselves and they are making money out of people who have their money in there. So it is important to take control and start digging and, you know, attending these webinars, connecting with people who have done it, or just connecting with specialists and CPAs and all that. So definitely, you know, take it on your hands, educate yourself so you can take action. Awesome. Go ahead, Trevor.
All the same rules apply, right? You still want to vet your sponsors. You want to give your money to people you know, like, and trust. When it's managed by somebody else, do you know, like in Trust, Fidelity, or TD Ameritrade, or you don't know? I mean, there's some person that, you know, comes in the office and they give you a copy and they say, which level of risk do you want to take? And they push a button and a computer does something. This gives you the chance to put your money with people you know, like, and trust. Then you start to look, and then you have a variety of options, right? You can do apartment syndication, you can do land syndication, you can do loans, you can do a lot of things. There are some rules on self-dealing. So if you're a general partner in a deal, you can't use your retirement funds. So you need to be careful on those, but there are so many options.
Awesome.
Trevor,
Thank you.
just to kind of add, right? You know, it's everything has a time and a place for it. If you are not in it, if you don't understand it, if you are learning through it, don't go. I mean, you know, because one of the biggest problem is, once you have the money, you want to spend, and so study first, hang out, and then you invest. Up until that point, leave it safe with somebody, right? Because the money, cutting the check, it's easy. Coming back out is always tough. So what I'm trying to say is that everything has a time and a place, and we are biased. We are into the middle of the real estate. That's all we do, and we get it compared to the, I would say, the regular W-2 employees and employers that you have. That's why we're comfortable. And having said that, I want to make sure that everybody takes the risk where is, you know, when you're ready for it, right? So do the work, understand what your comfort zone are. When I was working, it makes sense for me because I am diversified already, right? We have, and I understand I don't make money. I mean, the whole Fidelity one, I don't know who runs it. They run some bots. They gave you LifePath 2040, 2060, and give me whatever the index fund plus a little more, right? So which was okay because, you know, I was like, always, I have some funds. I'm growing outside the real estate. I'm taking some risk. I'm split, and my company is matching my 401k anyways. When I'm out of the company, there's no more matching, then it makes sense not to keep there anymore. Take it out, extract it more, and play with it. Understand your setup, then you kind of go with it, right? And last thing I would say, if anybody who moved out a corporate job, which had a 401k and also had a pension, which is some of the oil and gas. So if you live the pension, you guys will laugh at it. At least I had a laugh at it. If we live the pension with the Fidelity or with Shell, it grows at a 3% rate till I can take it out. 3%. That means in about 2 or 3 years, I'll be losing money, right? So, and I can also get a lump sum payment and roll that into out as well. So that's one way. And another option that we have that we don't typically keep in mind because we're working, it's in a grind, W-2 money comes in, goes out. But when just asking question, you could see how funny it is. It grows at a 3%. And the last thing for the college funds, our position in our family was we don't have a college fund for the kids. The reason being we don't have a college fund because coming into the money is 37%. You know, roughly if I earn $1, by the time I get to my kids, it's less than 60 cents, right? Around the 60 cents or so. So do we do that versus, you know, they work with us versus they have a Roth IRA and money goes in pre-tax, right? So taxation is always a thing, and folks who are doing a real estate investments, they're active about it. You have a little bit more flexibility and goes a long way. So think about your setup. Not everything is right. Not everything is wrong. Everything has a time and a place. Think about your setup, reach out to your CPA, talk to your legal services, figure out the best way to kind of get out of it. But those are some fantastic options. Back to you,
Yes. Thank you so much. That's very important. And just want to highlight like how important it is to diversify your portfolio. You know, one of the things when I talk to investors, like I like to understand their situation because every person is in different situation. And well, you know, the point here is like we need to maximize our returns. We need to take smart decisions, but not everything is going to apply to everybody. So that's why it's important to just educate ourselves and take action on that and, you know, learn more about it. So awesome. Thank you. Any the last question for Trevor? Oh, okay. So I don't know. Is Zach here before we go to?
He's not, I've not seen him show up.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Okay.
So we're out of time almost anyways.
I'll do a quick interview with him and we'll share it on the massive YouTube page of what his presentation was.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. So we're gonna open up for questions. Brooke is gonna be the first one, and if anybody else questions, please raise your hand and we will try to get you as soon as possible.
And
Go ahead,
maybe go out
Brooke.
of presentation mode so we can see everybody.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So, does anybody here know that if we have a 529 with our kids, can you roll that into a self-directed IRA? This was set up before I knew college was a waste of my money. No disrespect, you know, is there a way to roll that into an
Probably
IRA?
not. Yeah, I'm not an accountant, sir. I'm not an accountant. I'm not legal service, but I asked the same question. Probably not. So I'll add the probably in there. Probably not.
Okay,
So you have to exit, then you have to come back up. But
Awesome.
I mean, hey, that's the feedback that I had last time when I asked, I think.
Okay, thank you.
But
Appreciate
it
it.
goes back to my other comment is just keep asking and you may get to the right answer after you ask enough people and keep following up, and then you'll add value to people that have already maybe want to do the same thing, Brooke. So
Okay,
awesome.
I'll do that. I'll keep bugging and stalking people. Will do. Thank you.
That's a good question, though. That's
And there is one question in the chat that just talks about so it doesn't matter if it's a 506B or a 506C. That just depends whether you're accredited or not, or you have the relationship. And if you have something that is self-directed, you can invest that into both of those types of deals.
That's right. And the big ones, Fidelity, E-Trade, Oppenheimer, you can have a rollover IRA there, but they will help you trade on the equity market, which is that means you can buy stocks. They don't let you buy the hard assets like real estate, which is where services like Quest shows up. They let you have the hard assets, not the equity market. So depending on what path you choose, you may have to swap the custodians. I think that was the second part of it, right?
All right, Iffy?
I'll say it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for this. My question is this, the concept of self-directed IRAs, Roth is relatively new to me, and I do have one, and that was how I got into my first investment as an LP. Like you, Trevor, I didn't know about the loss of, the cost segregation, those benefits. And when I did find out, I was a little disappointed, but I didn't regret investing. So my question is, when trying to raise capital and encouraging people who may have IRAs or 401ks that can roll it over into these types of accounts, how do we overcome that objection? Or do you just not tell them? Because it makes it look less appealing to say, well, you can invest through this too, but you won't get these benefits.
I can give it a shot. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I don't know that
Sometimes you can't use the benefits though. So for example, if you have a W-2 job, you can only take the cost segregation against your passive income. And since your passive income now is tax-free through your self-directed retirement fund, it's a wash. So you have to think through some of the scenarios, right? Because the cost segregation only goes against the passive income if you're not a real estate professional. So some of those benefits, and again, I'm not an accountant or an IRA specialist, but an experienced investor, some of those are just a wash. And it's where do I have cash and how can I take control of my cash and put it in the best investment vehicle? And if you believe real estate is the best investment vehicle, that's the conversation, right?
And add a little bit more, right? So everybody, let's say we have me, right? I'm working, I'm W-2, and I'm only me, and me and my wife, we both work hypothetically when we cannot take unlimited write-offs, right? We're not real estate professionals. Let's say, let's go with the scenario. Then the question becomes, do I invest? So I have 50 grand hypothetically, what within the IRA and what outside the IRA? Question is, what do I get? How do I invest into an asset where potentially depreciation is a benefit, right? To me, there is no benefit. That's because all I can take max 3% write-off anyways. Then I will carry over the losses till I sell. So having the Roth, not having the Roth doesn't quite make a difference. because at the end of the day, it's a wash. And now you say, okay, I am in a real estate, my wife, let's say I am a real estate professional, my wife has a W-2. I can take a write-off. Then if I have 250 grand and I have only one project to pick, then I'll invest outside the Roth. If I have two projects to invest, I'll invest both, right? So and we all should have a decision hierarchy that, hey, do I invest from the outside money and do I invest from the tax sheltered money, right? But this decision of that depends on who I am, how I'm set up to do. Because depreciation is great, you'll get it. But if I cannot exercise and realize the depreciation, then what's the point, right? So folks who are W-2s, high earners, you can get about 3% or so, even though you get unlimited write-offs, but you wouldn't get to exercise the write-off. We kind of kick the can till we have another sell, it becomes a wash, right? So that's the game. And also back to, if I'm a real estate professional today and I get a write-off, which is good, I get a loss. But when I sell the asset, I have a catch up to do, right? That means I have to invest right around that time as well. So to me, short answer is there's no good or bad. It all depends on who we are, how we are structured, and then we play with that and we decide which way to go. I give you a long-winded answer.
No, that was helpful. I forgot about all those components. I guess I have some more reading to do. Thank you.
No problem.
And I would also say it's, benefit or, of the tax piece or not, with the, the IRA, it's just, it comes back to, at that point, it's a comparison of what are my investment options, right? Is with an IRA, I can invest in, stock or invest in real estate, for example, and which one do I want to do? So some of those don't really matter at some point. So it all comes back to really what is the person needing and understanding what it is that they need. And sometimes it also will give some people like their first chance to invest in real estate when they have some money sitting around in an IRA that they just didn't really have a plan for. So
it was my first chance so that was me. Yeah.
See, so perfect. You have a perfect experience to share.
Mm.
And the saddest thing is there are millions and millions of dollars sitting in retirement funds that are doing nothing. That is criminal. Like, your money is, in theory, with this high inflation, going backwards every single day that it sits there not invested.
Might as well hide it under a mattress.
Keep your money moving, keep it invested.
It's how should I say, the money, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't just gonna say, I guess like just people forget about it. It's not something like you're checking every day, like your bank account, it's just like they totally forget. But once they start looking at it, they start seeing like, oh, it's underperforming, and last month it was underperforming, and this been happening for the last year or whatever. And it's like, that's when people start like, okay, I need to do something. So I guess if you can take anything from tonight, is just go ahead and check your retirement account. Go ahead, Sharon.
I was going to say, we forget the money that we earn is the most expensive. Money that our money earns, that's the least expensive, right? Imagine the earned income tax that we're paying versus the capital tax that we're gonna pay, right? And so going back to it, don't let the money sit down stagnant. Every day it sits down, it's there. So, and home run, it is there, but to get a home run, you got to take a lot of shots, right? So be diligent about it and stack up to a point and deploy the capital, at a different various projects, different frequency, different amount, but work on it. Don't sit down. That'll be my biggest reflection looking back, right? So many times money sat down, didn't do anything. I'll buy a stock, when the market dips, and coming back from the B school, I used to have Bloomberg at my home. I did a lot of option trading. We tend to think we know the investment, but market is pretty smart to tell us we're not that much there. So just be diligent about it, and then spend your money for investment and don't let it sit down. That's, especially the last 2 years, it was not a good thing to do. Back to you, Jasmine.
Tarek?
Thank you. Go ahead, Trevor.
Oh, Tarek has his hand up.
No, I think it was Michael was next.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Hey, Jazz. Hey, Trevor. Hey, Shara. How you doing, guys? Massive family partners. I asked this question on all these calls about, retirement accounts. I'm a federal government employee that has the thrift savings plan. Yeah, the dreadful TSP that I can't move my money. So what do you advise? I mean, aside from quitting my job and just going full board, because I want to really use that money to invest, and it's just sitting there like I'm at the whim of the stock market and different retirement accounts. So I just want to know, like, what is your advice, for someone like in my position that has money that is technically not allowed to move out to and invest the way you want to invest. Thanks. Uh-oh, crickets.
The
No, I
only
mean, so
answer I know is-
Disclaimer, we are not CPAs, we're not legal advisors. We have our lawyer, Jonathan, here. But I don't know who wants to take it on this one.
I mean, if your employer will not release your funds, there's nothing you can do. I mean, I tried to get mine out, and that's why I took the $100,000 COVID thing that happened. It's gone now. But if they won't release it, you're tied to the plan of your employer, and that's the sad thing.
Oh, thank you for the confirmation.
I'm not a lawyer or a tax professional, but I tried getting my money out desperately because I could see it crashing.
on that note, what I would request that you reach out to your CPA and ask a question: how can you break it? Breaking is expensive, but if we believe we can get a better return, then it's okay to pay the price and get out, take a hit. But 2-3 years out, money is in a bank account, you can run it and get more return out of it. So I'm breaking my 401k, paying that quadro, paying that 10% fee, and then we'll catch back up down the way. So sometimes breaking is a tactical decision. It makes sense to pay the fee. It hurts below the belt, I get it, but it can come back out, assuming you can redeploy the capital. So.
Okay, so thanks, I appreciate it.
I'm going to jump in real quick, Michael. I was trying to text, my fingers aren't moving fast enough. So what I did too, when I was at AT&T and we didn't have a rollover clause, I went through all my expenses. I went through my subscriptions on my credit cards, went through the bank accounts. What is being debited out of my account that I can live without? And when I did that, I realized I had about $820 worth of freaking subscriptions that I did not need, that were not a priority. So what I did was every month I took about 600 of that and I put it in a Pinheiro Investments. I created a Capital One account and just started transferring that money over to that account. And that helped fund my real estate journey as well, because like you, I was a little bitter and pissed off that I couldn't take my money out until I quit. So where there's a will, there's a way. I would say pull out equity if you were a homeowner, but the rates are crap right now. I even looked at that last fall, but that would increase my mortgage by $800. Nobody wants to borrow money from friends and family, right? I personally don't, but I would start with your expenses and kind of go from there and trim the fat and see where you can increase your flow that way too.
Okay, great. No, thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
There's a method called Quadro, and I think Shariah brought it up. It's called a qualified domestic relations order that you can file. You can Google it. Somebody in your area can file it for you. An attorney will do that, and it'll release your funds. They'll file with the court, and it'll release your funds. So that's something that you want to look into.
Thank you. There's a good question on the chat asking Mike, but also anybody else. Can you stop contributing, or can you stop contributing to it at least, and then you can start contributing to a self-directed IRA? Does anybody has an answer for that?
I did that. I stopped when I first met Grant, and he was bagging on government accounts and buying a house and the whole 9 yards. I went back and decreased my 401k contribution. I mean, you could stop it completely, but they'll match up to, I think, 6%. So I also didn't want to leave money on the table. So then I just decreased it to the minimum, and that was it, and increased my cash flow that way too. So that's another thing you can do. How much are you actually contributing? And go from there. Do you have a flexible health spending account? That was another thing I did. I have a high deductible. So I have on my medical. So on my health spending accounts, come and cover your ears, some of that money went to medical, some of it went towards investments. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Just invested in
down.
medical.
Drop
and
it
you're
down.
Just invested in medical, then you're okay. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, yeah, right. There you go. Because I've heard what medical, health, and relationships or something, and real estate are like the most stable investments.
And also on the flip side, right? I maxed out since the day I started at Shell. I maxed out because if I max out, they max out, right? So I kind of played it out that way. And the whole thing was, I don't know what to do with it. I'll defer the tax as long as I can. But now I'm on Brooks Court, move that backwards. So you have lots of stories and lots of setups, right? It's your staging is different than somebody else's staging. So we want to get to the same destination, but the route of the path will be slightly different. So, thank you, Brooke.
Yeah, it is very important just to realize how much are they matching, how much your employee is matching, and then take it from there. Also,
Maximize everything, right?
Yes. Tarek, we go to you.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Thank you so much for the great call as usual. And I have a very simple question, but I think is very important for the people who has their money and they always look for safety, right? I know that they must or they should they take advantage of it. But there is a mindset we need to talk to about they have to invest. But what is the best advice for them to tell them you have to move or that you have to invest or you have to just go away of the safe zone and start to invest?
You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Brooke, so let me give you an academic definition of index fund, right? Well, we like index fund. What we say, if you don't know anything, go invest in index fund. You take the risk on the market. Market swings, you swing. Market goes down, you go down. You don't touch it, it grows. But if we word it out, if you say verbally what we say, if we are an average investor and okay with an average return, and we're going to be an average portfolio down the way, then go buy index fund. Think about it. If we are okay with being an average investor, getting an average return and getting an average portfolio, it's going to take the longest time to build, go buy the index fund. If you don't, go take action and be non-average, right? That's the idea. So that's why I take a look at it myself. It's everybody else from when we do an M&S out of it. Do you want to get a 5-6% and then grow the portfolio? Or you want to be adventurous enough, be diligent enough and grow it, push that 6% to 9%, push that 9 to 12, and you'll see. If you run a model to get, it's to get a $5 million portfolio, hypothetically at 21, you start working to get to $5 million with a market return adjusted for the inflation, 6-7%, it's going to make it work till 90 years, right? Versus you push the boundaries wherever you can, and you built up the momentum at the 30s, then really push it at the 40s and 50s, you realize the benefit is going to take you half of the time, right? Question is, do you want to be average or you want to be above the average? Depending on what we say, you align your action towards that. That's all.
Yeah, that's very good. And what I tell investors is probably just the purpose of this call is just to create awareness. And sometimes it takes a lot of time for investors to feel comfortable rolling over their 401k and messing up with retirement accounts because that's all they have, so it's just creating awareness of, have you looked at your retirement account, have you looked at the unperforming, and there's some other options, and you just pretty much help them open the third eye, there's some options and there's something that you can do, this is you need to take responsibility for this. You can just rely on government or on your employer. So just taking it from there and just adding value and helping them exploring other options and connecting them with Quest people, CPAs, or people who are experts in this subject.
I always say to take a percentage of the 100% that we have, but yeah, I thought you guys that's a great answer, and yeah, thank you so much.
Also, Tarek, it should for someone, as much as we want them to invest with us, we need to be thoughtful enough that it should take a lot of time for someone to decide, I'm going to break my bank, take it out from the system and deploy my own will. That underlying assumption is that I know I can make a better decision than the market. That assumption is a big, heavy weight for a lot of folks, and rightfully so should be. right? Not everybody knows what a deal looks like. Not everybody knows what the value looks like. So it's a lot of education that we spend, all of us, we spend a lot of time on it. So rightfully so, everybody should take their time, go through that diligence of understanding it before you do everything, right? Yes, there's a time and a place for it. Trevor started what, let's say, before 2000, right? But again, he has been a corporate work for so long. When did he start? I worked in the corporate 15 years, and then I started, right? So everybody is breaking out. Brooke worked in the corporate for a long time, and then finally she started, right? So again, back to the point, everything has a time and a place. You're gonna take a lot of decision-making power on your hand. That requires you to be educated. That requires you to hang out and learn, study, see how the game goes, then you take the shot, right? So that'd be my ask. Be an investor, but be a diligent investor. That's
Exactly. Thank you.
Awesome. Just on the chat, there is a good comment by Jen. She said, if you can roll over your 401k to a self-directed IRA, see if you can get a loan for 50,000 from your 401k. So there are just options. We just need to explore, and we just need to ask and just be in the right rooms, with the right people. Anybody else has some questions? Christine, I saw you raising your hand and then you just lower your hand, and anybody else has questions?
And there's lots of information at these providers' websites. So we talked a lot about Quest tonight because it's very Texas orientated. They do a lot of education here. So we all got, but so many of the companies have great YouTube channels, great tutorials. Make sure you educate yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna go just some announcements. Do you have announcements, Trevor? I do have one before I forget. We're gonna start Massive Capital Girls Society the first Tuesday of March. And the purpose of this is just we as a woman take responsibility of creating generational wealth and just have a community of women that we can help, support, inspire each other, and take control of our finances, and also grow on every single aspect, personally, professionally, spiritually. I'm such a believer that we need to be aligned on every single aspect of our life in order to excel to our highest potential. So for all the women out there, I see a lot of women here, so make sure you join us. I'm going to put the link here in a little bit, and I'll go back to you, Trevor.
Yes, so I want to thank everybody for coming. We're going to hang out for a little bit and just chat, so it doesn't have to be any conversation on this topic. We usually like to hang out till about 7:30, so we got another 15 minutes. I don't quite know. Zach sent me a thing saying he didn't have a link to join. I sent it to him, but what I'll do is I will do a recording with him where we'll get the presentation, and then we will share that recording with the group so that at least you get a basic presentation, because I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, no, that's
Awesome.
great. We can always do it again too, Trevor.
Yeah. And then Mike and I are thinking of starting the Bald Old Men Massive Society.
Hot. That's
Hey, Jasmine,
You know what? It will be a good idea. So we split and then we come together, as, align and as the best version of ourselves, and we support each other. Definitely, one of the things that I say, like, this group is not like a feminist thing. Oh, we don't need men. No, this is just like, how can we as a woman support you guys? How can we be our best, the best side of ourselves, so we can help you and support you on all these transactions and all these massive moves. So that's
just my education, Jasmine. Tell these women a man is not a plan. Make your own money. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's my avatar.
And the goal of these Wednesday night webinars is to provide education. So if you know of anybody just looking to learn, we're here just to share information, share what we learned. It's very important that you just invite people to come.
Awesome. So the next, we will see you next week. Next week, the topic for next week is gonna be risks of, if I'm not mistaken, Shar. Oh, he dropped
Risk
out.
of multifamily, risk in multifamily, risk in something. Risk is gonna be the plan for the next few weeks.
Yes, I think we'll be talking about understanding the definition of risk from the multifamily perspective, and how do we compare that within a project and take that project and then kind of compare against the market, right? So understanding project risk versus the market risk within the multifamily. It's a little bit more academic way of looking at the investments. That's going to be interesting. I haven't seen it that many ways, that many folks are talking about that. With that, next 2 or 3 weeks will be interesting to bring some of the financing theories that we use and apply that on the multifamily and look at the investments from the LP perspective to understand what type of risks associated with each of the projects and the location and the market. So we'll try to dilute that and share with you nicely some of the ways that we take a look at it as well.
Jasmine, did you have the link for your landing page?
I put the Facebook group, and let me put the landing page as well. Here you go. You guys can subscribe there. Yeah, just give me a minute.
What other questions anybody has besides, you know, the IRAs or anything else that's going on?
I have a question about the folks you partnered with last year that you helped become co-GPs. Now, when you were looking at their deals, apart from the fact that the deal had to make sense, did it necessarily have to meet Massive Capital's investment criteria? In other words, if you invest in 100 units and up, B, C's in certain states, did it have to fit that box, or could it fit the box of the person bringing the deal? Could it have been a 5 units? Could it have been a 10 units in, a landlord forward friendly state, that sort of thing?
That's an awesome question.
You want to take it
So,
first, or you want?
Yes. Let me take a shot at it. So it's a blend, right? We take a look at it, that does it fit into a massive box first? And then we said, how far is that from that individual who's bringing in their buy box, right? And we find a happy medium between those two. Do we go down less than 30 units or so? We have done it twice, but for a very tactical reason. It's because we saw those individuals, those teams, they are strong enough, they're good enough to buy more than 150 units, but they haven't experienced it. That's why we did those. But typically we'll stay on the bigger ones, right? So the short answer is yes, we do take a look at it, but we don't go very small. If we do go, there must be a tactical reason for us to partner. And the main reason is typically grow the partner's experience so we can go and buy bigger properties.
Cool,
Mike,
thank you. Thank you.
I have a question. And so I was late because I was on a call with 4 investors, and I might be worrying for no reason. And this was because we're doing another deal that's coming up that we can't publicize, right? And they want to do a fund. 3 out of 4 of them are accredited, and 1 of them is from Peru that is accredited. And they are concerned that the gentleman coming from Peru that is accredited may or not be. What are the rules on a fund if I'm doing a 506B raise, if 3 out of the 4 are accredited and then there's 1 person from Peru that's involved? Is there any rules I have to worry about? Yes, no, maybe so. That's something to talk about later.
So the person in Peru, let me just think it through. How is it part of that fund? Is it getting his ownership from US or from outside the US? That's something to take a look at, right?
So,
and go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So 3 of the people live here in the US. They're out of Florida. the fourth person is in Peru, and 3 out of 4 are accredited. Not sure if that matters considering this is a 506B fund, but it is a fund that they have that they want to contribute. They will be on the call next week, but they are curious because they want to use this fund. And the gentleman from Peru has the most money, but he lives in Peru. But the
Got it.
fund
So-
is based out of Florida.
Okay. From us perspective or from the investment perspective, the furthest we're gonna go is to that fund, which is the LLC. What happens within the fund, we don't see it. That's behind the curtain. So that's not the issue, right? It could be one person from, I don't know, Middle East, one person from North America, one person from South Africa. It doesn't really matter because from our investment perspective, all we are seeing is the fund LLC, right? The money is coming from the US bank account and the ownership structure is not an issue for us. So the short answer is that it's okay for them in a 506C to invest a 506B. And what's inside the fund ownership split, that has no issue or no tie to the fund itself. That'll be my initial reaction. I think that's going to be somewhere closer to the truth. I think.
And just
Would that make a difference if it was a 506C, considering 1 is not accredited, but 3 of them are? That would make a
Not for
difference.
us.
Though.
That's because
Okay.
it's a 506B. We are not validating whether they're 506C or not. If they choose to do a 506C investment from the 506C fund, then we have to go back and validate whether they're 506C accredited or not. Then we'll qualify.
All 4 of them.
But for this
right?
particular project, it's fine. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
But in general, a foreign investor or for anyone they just have the same rule to pass as well as a local investor. So if they share the documentation of the same level of accreditation, then, you know, with the right people, then that can happen as well, just as a general concept.
Okay. Because we just care about the LLC as a whole that is coming from a US bank, correct?
Yeah, but I'm just meaning that even anyone that participates in that comes from Brazil or Peru or Canada, they just have the same threshold to pass as anyone else related to accreditation.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you.
We'll have an expert on accreditation soon.
Fabulous. I just want to get in trouble. I don't want to get any of us in trouble. So that came
No,
up.
you're great. You're great. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. So we have 5 more minutes. We actually have another call giving updates to some of our investors in the property that we have in North Carolina. It's performing really good. So we're gonna go to that one at 7:30. Does anybody has anything else to share? Questions? 5 more minutes.
It's been a busy few weeks though of things. Like last week, a few of us we did 4 investor calls on 4 different properties. So it's when you are operating a few assets, you realize how much work effort there is on the GP side of everything, on the asset management, investor relations, and everything. You know, even whether it is a 20-unit deal that's $3 million or a 200-unit deal that's $30 million. It's a lot of the same effort. So when somebody was asking about, you know, size and type, it's I think there is a place that makes sense, and especially if you're going to bring investors in. If you're just going to do it yourself, then it doesn't matter maybe. But if you're going to bring investors in, you definitely want to make it worth your while, but also be something that's not too far out there that, you know, you're running a new business basically, you know. So starting up and running a $20 million business, maybe not where you want to start versus running a $3 to $5 million business. So
Might talk a little bit more about that sometime. The expectation, what we think we can do, sometime could be too far, sometime could be too low, right? Would you talk a little bit more? Let's say I come out and I haven't run a P&L from the corporate side. I got some friends. I see Antonio, all of a sudden I want to buy $30 million worth of asset. What would you tell me?
So we only got like.
I put you on the hot seat, huh?
No, but we only got like 2 minutes left, and but I'll share a little bit. I think because it was really what happened to me. It was you believe that everything you knew was true in the corporate world of what you were doing, but you don't realize how much infrastructure and support you necessarily have around you when you go to do this all by yourself, and you have to. So really, what happened for me was it's been a process of rebuilding that team and that infrastructure around us to be able to do the same level of work that I was able to do, in the corporate side with less effort and less stress and everything else that maybe goes into that. And every piece of it is a new challenge with we operate a few assets that are in that, 2.5 to 5 million range. And we work on, we spend, as this month, we spend a lot of time just making sure our SOPs are right, double checking, that we're going to be able to make distributions. You got to do the K1s the same. So the first few assets you do, it's a lot more work because there's a lot to learn in that phase. And I would definitely lean in to do one asset. One of our partners, which is where we need to go in about 1 minute, they did one asset in North Carolina, 30 units. They've learned how to really be a great operator and how to execute. Nick and Maria are part of that as well. That's on here still. So what they learned was how to execute really well, how to be great asset managers and operators. Now they can go do instead of a 30 units, 3 million. Now they can go do a $20 million asset, and we have full confidence with them and us together now. But I think that those would be a great subject on the risk. That's part of the risk piece, I think, Schreier, for the
That's
next
a good one.
That was a
risk
sneak peek
operation.
for next week. That was
Risk
like, if you want to learn more, come next week.
Sounds good. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Mike. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody,
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks, Nick, everyone, Trevor,
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Jonathan, Candace,
Buenos noches.
Indiana,
Buenas
Tana.
noches.
Thank you so much.